Well, good morning, everybody, to West Ham United, 1895. Glad to say we've got our first guest on of our championship era again, shall we say, as a West Ham fan. Not only have we got to play you twice this year, Mike, we've also got to play you in the Carabou Cup, which I'd like to
Yeah,
come back to in a minute. I've been looking at quite a few championship podcasters since we've gone into the championship. And it's quite funny, really. A lot of them are saying that it's unfair. There is a lot of unbalances that this year already West Ham have sold two players that have sold for more than any other club have sold in the championship. And they think that they're already starting at a bit of a disadvantage. Personally, I think if they'd looked into West Ham's finances, they would have realised that West Ham had to find £150 million. They also had a £40 million credit card, believe it or not, with Barclays that they had to get paid off again. Yeah, they sold Fernandez, as we know, for 80. How we got 85 million Fernandez, I don't know. And then Somerville. Why young players? I can understand old players going out to Saudi, going to America. I can't
no, I agree.
understand someone the age of Somerville going over to Saudi Arabia. We all know why. It's all got the power note on, but I think it's destroyed his career. So do I think we will start? Other clubs will start off as a disadvantage in the Premier League? No, I don't. Because do they still have amortization in the Championship? I don't know. If you don't know what the amortization is, hypothetically, we buy a player off you for 30 million, and we give you 10 million, and then we pay off that other 20 million over an
Yeah,
agreed period. And that is what West Ham had. West Ham had still have outstanding money they had to pay. So basically could have gone broke with it. But anyway, their money's been paid back, and Kretinsky has paid off the 40 million. So let's get talking with you, my friend. First of all, do you think you're starting off as a disadvantage with West Ham because they've sold these players?
no, not at all. I think everyone has their pre-season what they want to do within buying players, selling players. So if clubs really want to invest and really want to compete with the big clubs like the West Hams and stuff coming down, they'll spend the money if they've got it. But I think the Championship is the hardest league in the world. So I think just because West Ham have come down, you keep them going. I don't think you're automatically going to be pushing straight back up. As like Leicester when they come down, look how struggled they've been. They've gone straight back down again. So.
And Luton.
And that's what I mean. I think Championship is the hardest league in the world. The teams coming up from League One, look how good some of them have started. Like last year, pushing through. Derby County had a really good year, but fallen off towards the end. But I just think it's such a hard league. I said the grounds are smaller. They don't get the privileges in the changing rooms and stuff what they used to. And it all depends if the big players are up for it and they want to fight for it.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. I love, I used to love going. I always called it the second division, not the championship. And I've always called it when we went
Yeah.
down before. I used to love going to all the games. I loved all the away games, go on the Friday night and enjoyed it. But before we start talking about the teams, tell us about your journey being a Portsmouth fan and what got you as a Portsmouth fan in the beginning, please, Mike.
Well, I think coming from Portsmouth, obviously we're an island. We're the only island city in the country as well. We just have that sort of island mentality. Like if you're born in Portsmouth, your whole family you're always forced to support Portsmouth. Obviously, as a kid, you obviously look at the bigger clubs in the Premier League. You want to be like the big players. You always have like another team to look at, but you have to be a diehard Pompey fan. It's just like, pushed into you. You've got to be supporting them.
You're not one of the is it the 395 boys or the three? I forgot your name.
Nah, six, six,
Your
five,
little crew.
657.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, your little mob there, quite a little naughty bunch down there. So what age did you start going?
I think my first ever game was. I think I was 6 years old when I first went. My granddad used to take me, and then like my mum, dad, and things like that. So it's always been a family affair. It's not just men that go to football in Pompey, like it's women that go as well. So that's what brings like sort of like the family like feel to the club as well. Like you got your diehards and your hardcore fans, but then you also got your family side of it as well. But I think
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
you're not just supporting your club when you're in Pompey. You feel like you're supporting your city.
exactly. I think we
That's how it
come back to
feels.
what we were talking about off air. That's how we felt when we had the bowling. We was sort of supporting East London. I mean, you've never moved grounds, have you? I think I wrote it
No,
down, 1899, the ground open. You've had the
yeah,
same
yeah,
ground, just over 20,000 capacity. But when I was talking to your missus earlier on, she was telling me she prefers going down there because her dad, Mike, his name's Mike, he's a West Ham fan, because she feels it's a more family atmosphere. What I feel has happened over the since we moved, since we went to the London Stadium, the Soulless Bowl, as the West Ham fans call it, there's been a great separation between the club and the fans, and I don't think there's a lot of trust there. I don't think there's a lot of loyalty there. They was really worried that the clubs, was like this year. A lot of the fans weren't going to go. That as when I've looked up, when clubs go down, if they lose a lot of fans, the first season they don't, but if they don't go back up, it's the second season. What do you think you have with your ball that makes you still close to the club more than anything? Which I think there's not a lot for the kids. And I spoke about this before about children coming into the game and the next generation of fans. And when we were taking up there, I was saying, what can we generate interest for the kids because they're more interested in computers? And you also said about families going. And you've also got standing allocation there as well, haven't you?
Yeah, even the away end now is a full standing capacity. You still have seats there as well. We have the safe standing rails, but also in the main end beyond the opposite goal where my season ticket is, sort of the top, just over half or just under half is all standing as well. You still got your seats, but it's safe standing allocation. So you have the new railing system put in front of you, which is good as well because everyone's standing. The atmosphere gets picked up. I think if you get forced to sit down and the stewards are always saying sit down, it just ruins the atmosphere of the ground.
Yeah, I agree. So what are your club doing as a club to generate interest for the next generation of fans because of, kids' interest in video games and really technology these days? What are they doing to try and bring the kids to the ground?
I think to start with, without the club doing anything, I think like where the atmosphere is so good inside the ground, everyone wants to be part of it. So people always want to get tickets, always want to be part of. Oh, did you hear the atmosphere last night? Like it's always that sort of thing. But also outside the main ground now, we have the new fan zone which come in about 3 years ago, and they have all like huts and stuff. They have like PlayStation 5s for the kids. They have a DJ playing there. They have like the mascot out there. So everyone comes down and gets like involved with it. But even like people before the game, they bring their family down, their little brothers, sisters, and they just have like a drink and get involved with it. Then they go off when the game starts. So there's always something going on for people. Where it's such a small city as well, you're only ever 15 minutes away from the ground.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, when we left, when we left, particularly Upton Park, I had great hopes for Stratford. I think we got it for a song. I don't know if you know, we paid about 3.5 million a year. We don't pay for the stewards. We don't pay for the policing. We don't pay for the upkeep. Nothing. I mean, I do think Karen Brady, if she was the one that sorted out that deal, actually pulled the pants down. I think it's the LDDC. But I also think they didn't look into how they was going to create great atmospheres. Really, Seville, I think when we played them in the quarterfinal, a couple of years ago, there was a great atmosphere. But a lot what I'll call the legacy fans, they've walked away. You've got a queue to go in, you've got to get searched, you've got the men with a lollipop stopping you when you come back, telling you where you can walk and where you don't walk. And it's not a good experience, I mean, because they get no money in for the catering, etc., all that goes out. So none of that money comes back into the club. But there really has been, like, I'm not going to go into what you probably heard, the accusations that's gone on about David Sullivan. And supposedly now he's going to step away. And this guy, Kretinsky, who really is just an investor, he's come into West Ham. He's not going to be there for the long term. I think he's going to buy the rest of the shares at a very silly money. And then when they go up, hopefully he sells it as a profit. I do think as West Ham, we've got a project coming along. And I do hope that we haven't, because of the way the Premier League was, that most Premier League managers lasted between 18 months and 2 years. Sad, I heard Eddie Howe has got the bullet from Newcastle.
Yeah, it's more than
another one. Yeah, but like because of that, a lot of the Premier League managers that come in, they're so scared of getting the sack quickly that they try to buy out. What is your club's policy on trying to bring you through? Do they try to bring you through and say like the Brighton model and then sell them on for a profit, or do you still try to buy players from outside?
At the moment, we have got an academy, like the scholarships and stuff come through, but at the moment they're never sort of really breaking into the team. I think it's so hard since when we went into administration and stuff a few years ago, when we had all the scandal that Guy Mac owning it, going into liquidation and things like that. All the youth teams that all got abolished. Obviously saving money, so we had no reserve team, which we still haven't got a reserve team. So it's hard. They still come through. We have 2 or 3, 4 like lingering around the first team, but they never really get too much game. We haven't got such a big academy now of like teaching them and bringing them through. Not many great ones come through now. which
To
is a
be quite
shame.
honest,
Really.
I did a show months ago. Well, a couple of years ago. Literally, it's 99.6 don't get through anyway. There's only about
No.
0.4% that ever make it through. And I always worry about the psychological issues after them. How did you do last year? And tell us the differences that us as West Ham fans are going to find in the Championship with the football, with the tackles being allowed to go on a bit stronger, I suppose, with silly VAR. Do you still get all this rubbish from corners where people are grabbing hold of each other every 5 minutes? Like it
Yeah,
was in the, is that the
100%.
same there?
Yeah, 100%, and a lot more gets let go because obviously there's no VAR to pull it back. So both teams are both, and you just got to accept it a little bit in that league because you will do it as well as get it against you. So you have to take the good with the bad, I suppose, on the corners. But yeah, it's a lot more physical league. It's a lot slower as well than obviously the Premier League. A lot less higher standard of football. A lot more tackles go in. So I think you just, as long as you're up for a fight and you're up for digging in, you'll do well in the league.
Yeah, we got a keeper called Madsen, and he could not for love nor money early last year. I think we bought him off of Ipswich when they went down. Ipswich or Leicester, I think. And he didn't like coming out for the ball. Does a lot of the ball come over high into the box, or is it played to feet in the Championship?
Yeah, there is probably half the league does play. There is still a good standard of football in there, but you'll get the teams that's come up from like the league below that played like basically survival mode really to keep you up for the first couple of seasons. Basically, what we did, we tried to play football a little bit, but you have a one big man striker up front and you sort of play a little bit, then you turn into Route One football. It gets a bit annoying sometimes, but you just got to try and grind out a result.
Yeah, it's strange, really, because I think even world football is going away from having that big old number 9, which I grew up with and always loved. I love the target man, someone who can hold the ball up, someone who can lay it off. First phase, did a show on Kevin Keegan last week, him knocking the ball on, John Toshack knocking it on for Kevin Keegan. And I do think we do miss a good old number 9, and I think that will come back. Did you know the rules have changed this year, that it's now you've only got to get in the top 8? So if you finish 8th, you could theoretically get into the Premier League. It's ridiculous, really, isn't it?
I think it's crazy. Same as what they've done with the Champions League when they turn it into a league stages. I just think they're trying to change too much in the game that don't need changing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. When you think West Ham earned from around about 150 million from the TV rights last year, and Sky can show every game in the Championship, and they only pay out 5 million per team, I think it's an absolute joke. And I think whoever did that deal, yes, you're going to get shown around, and the Championship's going to get shown on TV, but for 5 million a team, it's just ridiculous. I think. And look at all the games.
Like that as well, especially when you're miles away. Say you're down this end of the country and you're playing Middlesbrough, and they change it from a Saturday midday kickoff to a Friday at 8 o'clock, or they change it to a Sunday at 12 o'clock. They don't think about the fans having to travel the other side of the world to get to the game or get back from the game.
Listen, for me, it was always 3 o'clock Saturday afternoons. My dad sitting there checking his pools off. You might be too young to remember the football pools, but your dad would sit by the teleprinter on grandstand and hope to get them 8 draws. Listen, how do you think you'll get on in the league this year before we go on to this mighty cup tie that's coming ahead?
Yeah, we've had a couple of seasons now of like survival mode, just trying to stay up. We had some good runs, like 3, 4, 5 games, winning games in a row. You think you've cracked it, and all of a sudden you have 3, 4, 5 losing games in a row. But that's the Championship. But I think this year we've spent a little bit of money compared to we haven't spent more than probably £2 million the last 2 seasons. But we've signed a big Serbian striker for like €5 million. We've spent about €10 million so far this year. So hopefully we push up a little bit further. I still don't think we've got a good enough squad to hit playoffs, but hopefully be a little bit more competitive than what we have been the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I always said when we went down on 39 points, didn't we? I think in the last 5 or 6 seasons you would have stayed up, but we was always going down. It didn't make no difference. We didn't come down this season, we'd have gone down next season because it's been happening for the last. And I always said I couldn't care less about the players who want to go. If they want to go, let them go. If they're not there for the fight, then go. But it's been the people in the background that have lost their jobs. And this week they've come out and they've got rid of the guy that's done over 20 years, Russ, he just plays the music at half time and plays it. I mean, how much can that cost? Would he get a free seat?
Not a lot,
probably like 30 quid a game or so. It's quite pathetic that they lose their I mean, I don't know. I mean, now listen, we won the FA Cup when we was in the second division. We went on and beat Arsenal. So I love cup games. I really do love a cup game. And the Carabao Cup, whatever you want to call it, the League Cup, the Milk Cup, the Tin Cup, whatever people want to call it. I think as fans, you love a good cup run. You guys won the FA Cup in 2008, didn't you? You beat Cardiff.
Yeah.
And in 2010, you lost to Chelsea in the final.
Absolutely.
Do you really believe that a cup final, there is nothing like a cup final for a day out for the fans? For me, it was everything. It was the week before and the whole day. I loved the whole experience.
Well, I went to all the games at Wembley for the cup finals, the semi-finals, and obviously the Charity Shield after. The atmosphere is just out of this world. The build up to it, everyone in the city is like absolutely pumped up for it. For like a week before, everyone's up there around the ground. It's just such a good day out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'll go
Makes it better
back
if
to
you
when
win.
I was a kid. Yeah, we would follow it from the week before. You know that you would follow everyone then used to get a coach down or a coach wherever they went. You know, there used to be it's a knockout between two teams. It just was. It still is amazing for me. And we lost the League Cup final to Liverpool in a replay. It was one of my favourite games at Wembley. But I just think when teams disrespect these, which I'm going to come on to now, I think they disrespect this Carabao Cup. Now, I went out and met a guy last year. I didn't realise it was the final. It was Arsenal Man City, wasn't it? The Carabao Cup last year.
Yeah.
And there was a guy sitting next to me, and he went, "Well, Matt, I don't know why this is on. No one cares." And I went, "Listen, the season before that, I went, Newcastle hadn't won anything for 70 years. I went, did you not see their fans celebrate? You know, the same season, Crystal Palace won the FA Cup, and the fans, the elation was there. The outbreak of emotion for Palace, I think, and for." Palace, who did I say one? And Man City even last year, because they knew they weren't a good side last year when they beat Arsenal in the Carabao Cup. But it was just even Guardiola. You know, there was times Guardiola was like this all last season. Did you see him? Like, he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and him winning that Carabao Cup
Means a lot, yeah.
Of course it does, and it brings confidence into the team. Which sadly, my friend, we are going on to this leg, which is going to be on Saturday, the 8th of August. I'm sorry to say it, but I think West Ham won't play a team. I think they'll send the kids out for it and won't really take it serious. I really do. What do you think with Portsmouth?
No, I think exactly the same. I think we'll have sort of a semi first team squad out, but I think like your bigger players, it's like been out last year with a lot of injuries and stuff. I don't think they'll risk him in the week before the season open. I think the league open is probably more important to the club than what the first round of Carabao Cup is. But I think if it was the FA Cup, it'd be a different story. But I think with the Carabao Cup, I don't think they'll risk a lot of players, not the week before the season starting.
Yeah, I've got to say, I sort of agree with you, really. I think most, some of the players, not none of our players really have come back from the World Cup. But I do think, like, people are not really fit, are they, to about 3-4 games into the season. And I think they won't really take it seriously, which I hate. I really hate. I think we should put put our heart and soul into trying to win it. And then as you progress along the tournament, then you really want to take out the bigger teams, don't you? Really, it's just what it's
especially for the paying fans as well, because obviously people have got to pay travel. A lot of people have to pay hotels, trains, and things like that to go to away games, and you don't really want to go there and then play the kids and not really want to win it.
No, I'm 100% with you. I don't understand it, and I never will do. When people say, "Oh, it don't mean anything," it does mean anything. It's a way of getting into Europe, which sadly, like you said just now, it's a way. I think it went down to nearly 9th or 10th, didn't it, last season? It's becoming all that was made for. The extension of them leagues was to get the top 6 into there on a regular basis, and that's what all that's about. Do you think it's unfair, which I certainly do, I've called for this for ages, that there's too much money in the Premier League now, and it should come down because the pyramid's like that, isn't it? That's the pot. I mean, the team that finishes 8th that could go up could earn more money than the team that wins the Champions League this year, So do you think it's unfair? And the money should be drizzled a bit further down not just into the Championship, but down into 1 and 2, etc.
Yeah, I think the money should be capped. I know they're trying to cap it now with a financial fair play, with people buying like silly amounts of money on players and stuff like that. But I think it should be capped, and I think the amount of overseas players that we should be buying as well should be capped. And then, like you say, brought back down the leagues, because like if you look at like Russia and things like that, I think they're only allowed 4 or 5 overseas players in their starting lineup. The rest of them have to be homegrown players. I know the league's not as big, so that's probably why we won't never do it, because the money would then dwindle out, and like the big billionaires won't want to be part of the clubs and stuff over here because of them rules. But I think there's got to be a happy medium with it.
I've said it before and I've said it again. You know, the lot of money, the biggest sport that makes the most money, it gets that fifth of the views to what the Premier League and all the Champions Leagues do, that, which is American football, and the money that generates, and that is why we're suddenly getting American owners into the Premier League. I think you only need 14 to change the rules. And we've all seen I don't know if you've heard what's gone on today, like Infantino, you know, we know he's corrupt as anything. He's now offering all the FAs between $30 million if they sign up to his new proposal. Guess who's behind it? Have a guess who's behind it. Have a guess. Trump's family. They're the ones who are behind it, which is another side. It's just it's terrible corruption. Do you think the standard of refereeing is of high quality in the Championship?
No is the answer to that. No, I don't think it is. You get a lot of if you go to a lot of live games, you see a lot of fans getting distraught with the referees and stuff. But I think it's a hard one, because obviously you're in some of the bigger grounds in the Championship as well. You're in there with 20-30,000 people, and these refs are not made out for big grounds like that. They're made out for Championship, League One grounds. So a lot of the Premier League refs don't come down, apart from when you get like the teams that's come down from the Premier League play each other and stuff. They'll get given the bigger refs. But I think it's a good enough standard. I don't think it's great, but I think it's good enough.
Yeah, I agree. I'm one of those. I don't like VAR in any sort of football. We see what happened in the World Cup. You know, I'm not going back on that. You know, I think they made something like 80 fouls and never got one looked at VAR, Argentina. But I do agree. Do you still get the real banter? Because I remember when I used to go, you know, and I'm talking sort of early 80s, late 80s. I used to go, and I used to love when I was in, I'm always going to call it the second division of the Championship. You really used to get good banter. And if you could go up at them points, I know fit times have changed, but you could just buy a ticket, you know, and you could go in the away end. Yeah, invariably, if you started singing like West Ham song, we'd get escorted. You never used to get slung out. You used to get escorted around you. Is it still great banter in the Championship?
Yeah, there is great banter. Obviously, especially our ground as well. We've got sort of proper old school ground. It's still the same, apart from being slightly extended and the corners filled in slightly. We've still got the same style ground as from when we started. So the fans are right on top of the pitch. So there is still a lot of good banter. And especially at our ground, we only segregate like sort of 3 seats long. But you go to some of these bigger grounds, they segregate the away fans from the home fans by about 30, 40 seats. But like, surely you want that revenue rather than segregating that many seats for. Football violence is dying now. You get a lot of abuse and a lot of howling backwards forwards, but you don't get the people like the away fans trying to get in the home end and things like that anymore. I think that era's died.
I mean, we had this problem over West Ham last year because everyone started, you know, a lot started to go. There was a lot of protests. A lot of people didn't go with their tickets. And then obviously the club, and you said it the nail on the head, revenue, whether it's corporate or not, is revenue into the club, isn't it? And what they did, if there was empty seats, they just sold them to anybody. They didn't really care less. And then you got a lot of the Arsenal game. There was Arsenal fans all in with the West Ham, and the West Ham fans didn't like it. But the way I look at it, you know, if the seats are available, I'm going to get caned for this because the two guys they don't believe in it. They think they should be, you know, separation. But I'm like you know, if you need the money into the club, then we should 100%. Yeah. Listen, I don't want to take your day up. First of all, I want a couple of questions for you to finish off with. Thanks for coming on today. Give me your prediction for the Carabou Cup.
I think we will nick it solely because we've sold out our 9,000 and we're going to turn it into a home game. I think voice-wise, I think we may nick it 1-0.
You're going to find it's very difficult to get. I don't know whether the acoustics. I always remember watching the 2012 Olympics, and I always remember that night. It was Mo Farah, weren't it? Jessica Ennis, and the guy that won the triple jump. I can't think of his name. Was it Greg? Greg somewhere? Greg Adams. No, and it was electric, wasn't it? Well, only from the TV, but it seemed electric. Yeah. So I thought when we got that, you know, it's going to be electric, and it ain't. It's very difficult. Obviously, they moved the seats back a bit differently, and it really is difficult. But I do find the away fans, you're going to see what it's like. You're going to need an Uber to go to the toilet. You know, I don't know if you've been there. Yeah. It just is. It just is an horrendous. It's terrible. Right, who's your favourite manager? Was your favourite manager Harry down there?
Yeah, he's probably my favourite and my most hated manager. Obviously, he really left us to go to the team up the road. So but yeah, of course he is. He's took us out of the dogfight into the good times back in the Premier League. So you got to love him for that.
And did you have a favourite player?
Yeah, Paul Merson.
Magic Merce, as he was known.
Yeah.
And do you know, if he could have been, I think if he had stayed away from the gambling, stayed away from the drugs, stayed away from the drink, I think he could have been anything. He could have played as an 8, could have played as a 10
Yeah.
for
Well,
England.
when we went up, when we went up from Div 1 up to the Premier League, we won it. Obviously, he was our captain that year. He only stayed for us for 1 year. He was so good that year. Well, we went away to Millwall. We beat Millwall 5-1, and he got subbed off. I've never seen Millwall fans. The whole ground stood up and applauded. He was that good still.
Do you know what I like about football fans? No matter whether you're an away fan or an home fan, you know when you've been outplayed, don't you? And you think, today it weren't close. We played in a Cup Winners' Cup game against a team called Dynamo Tbilisi after we won the cup, and they just wiped the floor of us. They beat us 4-1 at Upton Park, and to a man at the end of the game, everyone stood and just applauded them off. Do you know what I mean? It just was. They were just too good. And like you said with Merson, you know. Now I'm going to ask you this question. And I'm going to know the answer. I've already wrote the answer down that you're going to go, yeah, good job. Do you believe it was fair last year that they slung Southampton at the playoffs for the spying on Middlesbrough? Not being a Portsmouth fan. I know you hate Southampton, but do you think it was fair?
Yeah, 100% fair. Yeah, I think if you're getting done for 2 spy gates as well, not just the one team they've done it for two or 3. They've got to set a standard and kick him out. So yeah, I think it was fair.
Yeah, I've got to go. I thought it was tosh, and I don't think I'm glad that Middlesbrough lost in the other playoff. You know, because I think if they'd have gone up for it, they threw it away.
I think it was the fairest outcome in the playoffs was for that thing to go up. So I think that was right. Especially when they only got in it sort of the day before the end of the season as well, and still managed to go up.
Absolutely, yeah. How many tickets do you give for away fans? Because we got you on the last game of the season, so it could be one of us who could nick 8th place.
Yeah,
in the playoff.
So you get, I think our way end holds 2,200, I think, and I think there's sort of like 800 season tickets holders. But if you take your whole allocation, they move the 800 season ticket holders to the other stands. But we sell out every week, so it's just whether you take which I'm assuming you would take your allocation.
You know, our away fans are really good. I like our away fans better than our own fans. I find our own fans are a little bit too fickle and they're quick to jump on the players' back. I mean, we're not even started the season. You know, we've played a couple of friendlies and there's people already moaning. We ain't bought this one. We ain't done that one. With this podcast, like I'm doing, do you find your people that do, I don't know whether you listen to the Portsmouth podcast, but do you find they're too finicky and too moany, or do they try to look on the positive side of things like I do?
No. Yeah, you have both sets of fans. You have the ones that are moaning about, like, we just signed this new striker and they're saying, oh, he's not fast enough. But then if you bought someone fast, you say he's not a target enough. You'll have them type of fans all the time. But you always get the ones, especially if you look on the Facebook, we signed someone, go, oh, what's this from a team we never heard of? We're going cheap again. You always get them type of fans. But as long as the players sort of can shrug that off and ignore it, it's all that matters.
Do you know something? I think what football does, it allows you a bit of expression, a bit of release, doesn't it? You go, you have your shout, you have your cheers, you know, especially, you know, when I used to go, you know, if invariably we'd lose. My first game, we lost 6-1 at home to Man United. That was 67, I think, at home. But I'm one of those that the game ended, you know, Saturday night. Yeah, I had the Sunday. I went to work Monday, got the ribbon off all my mates. And then to time Tuesday, Wednesday come, I was already organising how I was going to get to the next game, who was going to meet and where we was going to go. It's just sort of changed. Is it very multicultural down there? Because, where we are right in the middle of the East End, which is a big Muslim area now. And I don't see enough of them fans. I certainly don't see none of them kids coming through. So I thought...
Not at football. No, not in the city. We have, obviously now we have.
So my 2 grandsons, did go to the Bobby Moore School, you know, which is aligned to the side of the ground, and they never went in there. The players never did anything with them, you know, never went in there and offered them, say, like 100 tickets, you know, and says, right, you know, lottery them off, you know, just to get the kids going. And I see Sanja, there's something not right between the club and the fans at the moment at West Ham, and I think they need to do that. I think, sadly, we're going to have a year of transformation and a transition, you know, and the bloke who took over the club, this Kretinsky, at least Sullivan still owns the most shares that we know. Possibly they're on a level. And I don't think he's going away. When you own, let's say they're worth 300-400 million, he ain't just going to go away, is he? He's still going to want to put his nose in. And that's what I'd like to see more than anything this year. I'd like to see a bit of unity, a bit of synergy between the fans, between the club, down to the youth teams. Try and bring some youth players through. Because if we ain't signing anyone like we haven't at the moment, I mean, you talking about you moaning about people. Everyone moaned about that kid at Man United last year. Do you remember Chesko? What we bought him for? The second part of the season, he come good, didn't he? He scored against us in the last minute. We signed Craig Dawson from Watford for $3 million. And to a man, when he's too slow, Watford again, he's useless. You know, he come in. He revolutionised our defence. He could read the ball. Yeah. He started marshalling the defence, put his head in anywhere. He scored goals away. Sometimes you haven't got to spend loads of money to get good players. You need players that want to play for the club. And when they go out, I always say it, you work, I work, everyone work. When we go out and work all the week, we spend, all right, you get your season tickets, you know, whatever. But we go out and we spend that money watching West Ham. And I think the British players do get it. They realise what we have to do to watch the games. When the foreign players come in, especially on the bigger money, I don't think they get it. And when they solve that they're getting sent off, you know, when they're getting taken off or something happens in the game that don't go their way, they're a lot more temperamental, I think, than what the British players are. Before I go, Mike, could I just ask you something? Our season tickets have gone down to between 350 and 300 for the year. They've gone down, some of them almost 40 to 50%. What is the price of your season tickets up there?
I'm in the main stand. My season ticket, I'm in the main stand. Mine it's just gone up to 515, I think, for mine. For that's in the main. I think, yeah, they average between, obviously kids are a lot fat, but for an adult, it's the average sort of between like 400 and 550. But obviously we've got we've got a lot less seats to fill than you, so obviously I suppose we've got to charge a little bit more.
Well,
we only hold 21,000. So
I told you what we was paying for that ground, didn't I? Because we've gone down, they've only got to pay half. So all they've got to pay for the whole year is, and I don't know how they're going to get on because they was only supposed to pay X amount of games per year. They've got to get permission for cup games and other bits and pieces because they still want to put a few concerts on there, a bit of boxing, but it's nothing to do with West Ham. The rumours has it that this new bloke wants to buy the ground. I can't see it happening because I think it's going to be too much money.
Yeah, a lot of
right, my friend, I wish you really good luck for the season. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And come on, you Irons. Take care, Mike. Have a great
holiday. Play up, Pompey.